Welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Today we're joined by Cole Humphus. Cole tells us a wonderful story about how his side hustle turned into a multi-million-dollar business. He walks us through basically how he created a business on the side of his corporate finance job that eventually turned into his full-time income and the steps he took to rapidly scale this business up. What started as a content website that was producing content for photographers turned into a multifaceted company that was relying on both content in the form of SEO, but also using paid ads to drive traffic, moving people into an email address and a funnel, and then adding on tutorials and eventually a membership community, all to rapidly scale the revenue of the company and then end up getting acquired down the road for quite a large sum. So it's a great story, but Cole outlines all the different ways that website owners can instantly and quickly, I probably shouldn't say instantly, but quickly add additional streams of revenue, given the type of traffic they have right now and given the type of niche that they're in. It certainly got my head spinning as somebody who owns a website or two, and I'm definitely leaving money on the table when it comes to all the different revenue channels that are available to us. It's so easy to get stuck maybe in building a website on the back of SEO, throwing some ads on it, sending people to Amazon and getting 3 to 4% from them in terms of commission and calling it a day. But Cole really challenges everybody to think through all the different ways you can get traffic and then all the different ways you can monetize that traffic. He's with Rapid Scale Group, which is his consulting company that helps people do just that, add on additional streams of revenue. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode, and hopefully it'll challenge you to think of some different areas that you're leaving money on the table when it comes to your business and your website. Enjoy. Hey everyone, today's show is sponsored by Ahrefs, an all-in-one SEO toolset. Are you sick of your competitors outranking you in search results? Do you wish there was an easier way to get more traffic from Google? So one option is to get an agency on a kind of costly ongoing retainer month by month. The other option is to leverage a tool that tells you what to do. That tool is Ahrefs Webmaster Tools, and it's completely free. Again, this isn't one of those 14-day free trial offers. It's just a completely free tool. It's a super powerful one at that. It's going to do a full website audit for you, and it's going to keep working for you ongoing. Does all that for free again. It'll scan your site. It's going to prioritize precisely what you need to do to fix your website, which is going to improve your results in search. Imagine how valuable you'll become as you discover the changes that you need to make to increase traffic. It's time to get started on getting Google to work for you and your business. And you can visit ahrefs.com/webmaster-tools to get access to this free tool. We've included a link here in the show notes, but again, it's ahrefs.com/webmaster-tools. Thanks again to Ahrefs for sponsoring today's podcast. Have you been frustrated with your Google traffic lately? Are you tired of tools that make you search through millions of keywords and require a math degree to figure out? There's an SEO tool called RankIQ that can help. They're ranked number 1 on G2 for both ease of use and customer satisfaction. RankIQ gives you a list of the lowest competition, high traffic keywords in your niche, and they are all clear winners. When you choose one of their hand-picked keywords, their AI takes over and gives you a simple report telling you what Google wants you to cover in your blog post. Whether you have a new site or have been around for a while, RankIQ will take your Google traffic to a whole new level. Go to rankiq.com/niche pursuits to lock yourself in at 50% off their monthly rate. I'll put this special link in the episode's description. Welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today we are joined by Cole Humphus. Cole, welcome on board.
Hey, Jared. What's up, man?
Good to have you. It's pretty fun because we have a really fun success story that we're going to talk through today. But You're a colleague of mine turned friend of mine now. I've been privileged to, kind of be alongside you in terms of just getting to watch this success story unfold here. We live in the same area. So I'm really excited to have you on the podcast because I know some of the details about your story pretty well. And it's just such a fun and wonderful business you've grown. So why don't you give us a little background on yourself? Tell us where you got started in business and then where you ended up at today.
Yeah. And yes, this will be an awesome time. It's always fun when we chit chat. So the only difference is now we get to share the fun with everyone who's listening. And that's always really fun to sort of help inspire and motivate. So yeah, that's such a loaded question when anyone asks, like, tell me the backstory. Cause over the years I've gotten practice of making it as succinct as possible. So I guess where I should start is I worked in corporate finance, and I would always sort of just like dream of like being an entrepreneur, and not mostly so I didn't have to work a day job. Right. And one day I had what I thought was the best idea in the world, which was to become a wedding photographer. And the reason why it was the best idea in the world was we live in expensive California, and this was a job I could do on the side of my Monday through Friday. Weddings are on the weekends. And so I taught myself photography, and I started making money doing weddings. 3 years into that, on a photo shoot with a friend, I knew he had an online business, and I asked him about that online business, and his words were something to the effect of, "I'm crushing it." And I said, "Well, what do you mean? Are you just like running ads on your website, crushing it?" Because he had said he said, "No, I do these online summits, and I've done 3 this year, and everyone's done 6 figures." Of course, at the time, I was making $48,000 a year in my corporate finance job and working the weekends as a wedding photographer. And I'm like, jaw drop moment, like, wow, multiple 6 figures here. So I said, I should teach photography online. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you should." And that was the end of that. Months went by, and lo and behold, I actually did start. And the way I started was a YouTube channel. I had a WordPress blog, and it was called Cole's Classroom. And I had a YouTube channel. And I want to say my first video was September 29th, 2012, I think, on YouTube, maybe 13. Wow. But it's funny because I still look back, and that video, actually, it's no longer there. That's a whole nother story. But when the video and the channel were there, that video was the number one thing that got ranked. And I looked so scared, like scared shitless. I accidentally cropped the aspect ratio on video is different than photography. And I cropped out my forehead, and I was so scared, but yet it got over like 150,000 views. And it was about me just sharing my wedding gear equipment. But to fast forward a little bit, I mean, that's how it got started, was literally just my own internal motivation, drive, and inspiration to do something bigger, something online. Everyone who wants to do something online, because we all think it's passive, we think it's easy. Those of us who've been around long enough, we know it's not ever really passive unless you've already put years and years and years of active work. And then maybe you get some bits and pieces that are passive. But I grew that company over the next 7 or so years when it was under my leadership. And then I took it from 0 to 10,000 monthly members at $49 a month. And I sold it to a software company. So that's I don't want to take up any more of our time on backstory, but that is, and it was a fun ride.
So you took this, you started a wedding photography business as a side project for your day job. And then you started a website and, classroom style tutorial website for photographers as a side project to your wedding photography business. Right. Did you ever think when you started the wedding photography business as a corporate finance day job, did you think the wedding photography business was going to replace that? Was that your aspiration, or was it always just something you wanted to do on the side just to kind of scratch that itch?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, it was never, ever meant to replace the full-time job. And conversely, when I started the blog, which then became a kind of business, and I think now it's easy to distinguish the two. even that was sort of just like, oh, this is great. We're making 50K. And at the time, the 50K salary turned into 60 over the next handful of years to 70 or whatever. And then, making 50 or 60 from doing weddings as sort of a side hustle. We were doing okay. I mean, we weren't like going to retire early.
Not in California, you weren't.
No, exactly. Right. But then when we also added in the first year that we tried to make money with Cole's Classroom, which was, I believe, the first year, all I did was put content out. And I know everyone who's listening here, they understand the value of SEO and content marketing. So all I didn't even try to make a buck. It was all about building an audience through my own content. And I would wake up in the morning at like 4:30 or 5 before going to the gym, before waiting in traffic and sitting in the car going to work. And I would make a new tutorial. Sometimes it would only be for YouTube. Sometimes it would only be a blog post. Sometimes it'd be both. A lot of times when I got smarter, I would then look at the better performing blog post and then add in a video. But the real fun happened when I started to get some articles ranked on SEO. And that was really what opened the door into us making real money. And by real money, it was going from just being a content site with no monetization to making 135,000 in that first year that we started launching courses. There was no ads. It was just our own courses.
Mm-hmm. I really want to get into the details about how you grew this website and really this brand so fast and to such a large, a monthly number in terms of revenue. Whatever you're comfortable with, though, just so people can kind of understand where the business got to. Whatever you're comfortable sharing, what kind of numbers did you end up doing towards the tail end of you owning the business? What kind of number or valuation did you get when you sold the business?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of it, some of it's on my website. So I'm more than happy to regurgitate some of that. The valuation will be trickier to give specifics, but essentially we went from 100 and I guess let's just talk high level, because I know there's probably a lot of people who are listening who are only focused on SEO content or SEO traffic.
Right. Yeah. Organic traffic from Google.
Yeah. Organic versus paid.
Right.
Like with just not all of the years, but the year and a half of me audience building and organic content marketing and YouTube and SEO, taking whatever SEO I can get kind of thing, that got me that first $135,000 for the year. And that was from, for the most part, 1.5, kind of 2 products that I created. I finally, at that point, decided that it was time for us to leave our day jobs. And in doing so, when I went to a marketing conference, there was something that was told to me, or told rather on stage, not to me. I was one of thousands in the audience. And it was by now my friend Ryan Dice, who for a long time, I didn't know this guy, but he became my mentor and now a friend. But he said something that changed my life, which was, a lot of people come to me and they say they have a traffic problem. I need more traffic. I need more traffic. But I say there's no such thing as a traffic problem. You just have to go to the traffic store and buy it. And the traffic store is Facebook or Google or YouTube, or at the time, Pinterest. And now, of course, there's TikTok and all these other things. And I was like, wow, okay, that makes sense. Like I already at that point knew my metrics. I knew that, hey, for on average at the time, I can almost regurgitate it, 4.5% of the traffic that hit one of my products, my best-selling products, became a buyer. So therefore, I knew how much my effective earnings per click were. So if I could just get a cost per click cheaper than my earnings per click, then I can just, to some extent, infinitely scale. And it's good that I'm saying that now it'll make more sense with how I was able to then the next year go from 130 grand, 135 to 1.5 million. Mm-hmm. And then doubled it again to 3. And then I changed the entire business model, went to membership, some of which was from a breakfast that you and I had. And I still remember where we were. And I was sort of at a crossroads. Do I keep doing these a la carte products, or do I go into a membership, which is absolutely a much harder thing to scale and sell? I went all in. So that year was sort of a transition year. I then made the business, I grew it another 50% year over year, and then we got acquired. What I'm comfortable sharing is we had, for multiple years, 7-figure profits. I mean, this was not like one of these e-com physical product businesses that did 10 million in sales and they were left with like 800K in profit. Because I mean, anyone can, or a software company that's doing for years, multiple 7 figures, even 8 figures, and they're still not profitable. Like, this was a highly profitable business that was, the rapid scale was fueled by not only relying on organic traffic. And that's the distinction. Organic's great, but organic gets hard to have a lever to pull.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, let's talk. That's really where I think we can get a lot of value today, because like you said, the audience that listens to the Niche Pursuits podcast are pretty much all website builders in some capacity, or at least using a website to fuel their business growth. But so many of us, and I'll speak for myself here as well, rely on a couple of different levers for revenue, right? We will typically rely heavily on organic search traffic, and maybe not dive into paid as much. And then a lot of people rely on either affiliate income or advertising income as the primary bulk of their revenue for their site. What you did was took a platform of content, which everybody here understands really well, but you found other ways to A, scale it rapidly, and B, monetize at a much higher amount. When did you kind of start getting the idea to add these paid tutorials? I'm taking us all the way back to kind of when you first started finding new revenue channels. When did you get the idea to start adding paid tutorials, and what can other people look at in their business, their website, to think through whether or not it's a good time to add these paid tutorials?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it was always part of the plan to monetize with courses, because once again, what does everyone out there want? Passive income. What does everyone who has a business think? I make a course, it's all profit, and I'm going to start like rolling in the dough. And I laugh because it's never that easy. But I think the way that a great aha moment that I had and became the reason for selecting the product that we first did is going to be the number one thing for anyone listening right now to really pay attention to. And that is, because you guys already love and know SEO data. For me, I was just producing content, and my SEO strategy was like Yoast SEO plugin, right? If it was green, like, we're good. Like, and that was it. There was no backlinks or anything. In hindsight, I wish I did SEO for that entire 5-6 year journey, because you just can't, there's so much value in just that long-term approach to SEO. When you need it, sort of like insurance. I mean, it's not like, hey, ads are sucking now. I need SEO and I need it today. Well, sorry. Like, yeah, it's good to start now. But the way that I knew what product to first create was simply, one day I said, oh crap, this tutorial that's about newborn photography is ranked number 1 for newborn photography tips. All of our traffic coming to the website is from newborn photographers. Guess what? It's probably a good idea to make a course for them. And that was it. And then, you just parlay that. I mean, when I look back on the entire career of that website before I then sold it, I think one of the number one things that I did even better than a lot of my competitors was I just simply let the data guide the conversion decisions or the product creation. Like it got to the point that we would only create a product after I asked if I would send an email, or I'd post in the Facebook group with the thousands of members. I'd be like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. We're thinking about making a new product, and here's what it will be. Here's about the price point we think, and here's what you'll get. Comment below if you'd be interested. And it would just be like, I don't know. Last time we did this, there was like 200 comments. This one, there's 10. Nah. You know what I mean? So that nothing was scientific, but it always, our product decisioning was based off of the data that we had.
You clearly, because you hinted at it just now, but you clearly created a bit of a more than just a website. You had an email list that you were marketing to. You had a community. I don't remember if you said that was on Facebook or at a private community setup. How important is it, or was it for you, I guess, to not just have the website traffic, but to move them into other channels as well, like the email, like the forum or the Facebook group or those kind of things?
I think if anyone's I think the first step is anyone who's listening, they have to decide, like, what am I building? Because I think there's plenty of value if you don't want to build a brand, then a lot of this is probably not necessary. Although, even if you aren't, the fact that you can probably very easily start collecting emails, which then when you want to flip your niche site, it's going to be worth way, way, way more. So you'd be silly not to, even if you don't monetize them, you just get them to give, to give their email in exchange for something. For any brand builder, it's everything. You can't rely on, even for us paid acquisition people, Google's getting away with cookies, I think, by next year. So that's going to change things. Facebook's already removed a lot of targeting. Even I think email open rates are more subject to being inaccurate because of things that Apple have done. Like, this is the age that we're in, or the age that we're in is like all of the big tech sliding like the lever back to give more control to their end users, which will continue to make it harder for any brand builder or website operator, because privacy is everything. So, I think we are moving to, so for anyone, I guess my answer is for anyone who just wants to have a passive kind of operation, then go and do your SEO thing. And many of you are wicked smart at, grow it over 18, 24, 36, however many months you want, monetize it the easy way. Then it truly is passive income. You already had to put a lot of work, but it's pretty dang passive, and off you go. Flip it, get your 3 or 4x and call it a day. For anyone who wants to build a brand, you have to, in this day and age, take a very omni-channel approach, right? It's like, okay, I got the traffic. Now, how do I multiply that traffic? And by multiply, I don't mean that same person, but how do I multiply the touch points that I can have with that person? So for us, email's a given, but we also would collect phone number, or we already had phone number from our customers. And if somebody bought something, then we also have address. I can now I literally, you're going to like this one, Jared. Everyone would have an opt-in. Free training, put in your email, whatever. Well, a sneaky thing that I did, it's nothing like black hat or anything, but is to have another bonus download that they would get through Messenger. Facebook SMS. Chat or chat bots. No, not SMS. So
Facebook Messenger.
Let's say that they give you name, email, phone. And then it's like, hey, congrats. We're going to be emailing you the free training, blah, blah. If you want to go ahead and get this free bonus download, click here. It's going to open up in Messenger and it will deliver it to you that way. So now I have one lead that I instantly have name, so I can personalize stuff. I got email, so they're on my email list. Obviously, I got phone, so I can use SMS marketing, and I got them on Messenger. So so that's multiply out the communication touch points, and that's going to become more and more important in the next years to come.
Let's role play. So let's say that I'm a site owner, right? And I've got a site that I've built to, whatever, we'll come up with some traffic number if we need to, but most of my traffic's coming in from organic search. I've got a couple of pages that are doing really well. I am in the, here we go. I'm in the home cleaning business.
Yeah.
A little bit
Great. This is good.
Yeah. I grab a cleaner off my desk here. So I'm in the home cleaning business, and, I've got traffic. All I'm doing though is putting ads on my site, and I've got some affiliate products, some affiliate relationships I'm recommending and making some money there. What would I do? First and foremost, walk through some of the steps to take, even from a high level, to add additional revenue streams and additional traffic streams.
Well, let's start with traffic. Maybe we have a free download that is like the top 7 natural, home cleaning products that every, not homeowner, but even if you're renting, you still use it, but that everyone needs to use, right? So now you have a quick PDF that you can easily have. You can do the research. It's probably already on a blog, one of the long form blogs.
Right.
Go ahead and give it to hire somebody on Fiverr or Upwork, and for anywhere from probably $25 to $100, turn it into a nice PDF. Now open up your Active Campaign or MailChimp or whatever. Now you have an opt-in to build your email list. Okay. So that's number one. So you can expand your traffic communication channel. And from a revenue standpoint, what I'd be looking at is I'd look at that traffic and I'd see where is the bulk of this traffic. Look at where's the top 80%, because we all know the 80-20 rule. You probably get the bulk of your traffic from maybe just, if you have 200 articles on there, 80% of your traffic might come from 10 articles. Right. Maybe they're all in the category of, let's say, clean like clean cleaning, you know what I mean? Like no chemicals and natural cleaning agents or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So now if that's the case, well, now maybe you can, or better yet, look at your Amazon affiliate stuff. What are the things that people are buying? Okay. Now, if it was me running the site, I'd say, well, can I go ahead and create my own brand instead of me sending it to somebody else's brand on Amazon and collecting a measly 3, 4, 5%, whatever it is now. I know they keep changing it and it's category specific too. But what about if I go ahead and create my own brand of cleaning products? Green, I guess is what I should say. That's probably the right term. Green cleaning products that are good for the environment. And then now I can capitalize the traffic's coming in for predominantly this category. Instead of me only collecting 3, 4, 5%, I can send them to my own product. And now I have potentially an e-commerce brand that then I can expand further. So the whole point is like for people not to think too big. Don't think so broad that it's like, well, I don't know anything about being a manufacturer and what other products I'm going to sell. It doesn't matter. Just pick one, because I can almost guarantee that you can Google green cleaning solution
wholesale products.
Like white label manufacturer. And there's going to be plenty of people that are already doing this for all these other brands. You just have to slap your label on it and obviously go through and do testing and change whatever formulas you want. And now you're in business. So that's just one example. I mean, anything in the cleaning space, I think, is ripe for an e-com play.
And you would recommend like different plays for different spaces. Obviously some spaces might lend themselves more like what you did, which is more of a membership group, a tutorial, selling online education, that sort of thing.
Yes. So sorry to butt in, but like let's just take the same role play idea, but instead of it being a product-based thing. Oh, and by the way, one more thing on that last role play. Google Ads is exactly where that could be a perfect fit for something like that. So now you have a product that maybe is your brand, and you have organic traffic and an email list now that you can market your brand. And now that you have your own brand with your own product, you can also run Google Ads, because there's every day people that are searching for that exact thing. So just like what we just said, like, hey, for different websites, there's a different best monetization path. For different products and businesses, there's also a better or best paid acquisition channel. If people are already searching for the thing that you do, though, then you'd be a fool not to use Google Ads or Amazon ads, right? So what I was going to say is let's think of a good thing for a community. Mm-hmm. Something like fishing. You see I'm wearing my fishing shirt. I own a lot of fishing shirts now. I also have a guitar back there. So I used to be a musician. Now I'm into fishing. Both of those are great community plays, right? Musician, that has a great info product play. There's always going to be people that want to learn how to play music. But, and this is similar to like what I did with photography, but even with the teaching component, there's like humans inherently, it's like literally gang mentality. Like we like to be with each other. We like to be around people. We don't like isolation. So that's why communities are so important. I know for a fact that some of our longest term members in Cole's classroom, repeatedly, they only kept paying us $49 a month, not for the content, but for the community. And here's something fun. The other day, I went back in. It's been almost 3 years since selling the company. I went in and I gave a live video. I haven't done a Facebook Live in there in years. And I just did it just to be, because I earlier in the day, I was like, hey, everyone, how's it going? Everyone's like, oh my God, Cole, how are you? I've been seeing your kids grow up, blah, blah. And they're like, man, we missed your lives. And I'm like, well, all right, 2 p.m. today, let's do one. But my point is there's a lot of people in there that I recognized, I know have been members since we started it back in 2016. That's 6 years ago. They're still there because it's who they identify with. It's their people. So anything that you can do, like if you're building a site that has less, and this is great for SEO stuff because there's so many SEO focused websites that are all about the buying guides. All it is like, oh, this is a buying guide for guitars or for guitar players. That's cool, but it limits you if all your content, or golf, if all the content that you're getting, if all the traffic, all the content you're producing is bringing only traffic for people when they're in the purchase decision, that can hurt you from a further monetization opportunity standpoint. So yeah,
those are some really good examples. And I think it covers, if you're more in the hobby or passion niches, community plays are great. If you're in more of the product niches, e-commerce can be great, but it doesn't change some of the other things you talked about: email list building, having free, valuable information to get people over to your email list, and maybe also mailing list, maybe also SMS list, maybe also Facebook Messenger, and just finding ways to then engage with them, not on your website, but in like an email platform, a community, these other types of platforms.
Yeah, I mean, think about one last role play example here. I want to make sure people understand what we're talking about. Like, I didn't really touch on the fishing example. Fishing is something that there probably isn't as much opportunity to sell courses. I know there sort of is because I have friends that are doing it. But that doesn't mean that there's not opportunity to make money in the fishing space. What are they buying, right? So one thing that I think I would encourage everyone to think about is if you have a website or 2 or 5 or 20, it's like, just ask yourself, like, how can I best serve that person who's visiting my site, right? Or ask it differently. What are all the different ways that I can serve that person? So let's pretend I have a fishing site. Well, they're going to be buying gear from somewhere. Is that something I want to do? Once again, I can send people to an affiliate thing, or I could just maybe start my own brand. Maybe they aren't really into courses. Is there a coaching component? Probably not. Okay, well, community. Yeah, cool. Because fishermen want to hang out with other fishermen. I'm wearing a shirt. People wear shirts and they dress a certain way because people will wear things because it's their identity. So that's why back when I would play in my punk rock band, I'm always wearing my Converse. And that's why now I'm like, oh, it's a cool fishing shirt. Everyone sees me. They're like, hey, that guy fishes. So there's a gazillion ways to monetize things. Heck, you could even have, if you have all these people that are already there on your site, you can create a community, even if it is on Facebook. And now there's other softwares out there that might be a good choice. And you can charge a whopping $2, $3, $7 a month, 10, whatever you want. Like, just bring people together.
One thing you did a really good job of at Cole's Classroom that we haven't talked about yet is that up until this point, I'll say maybe it could sound a little overwhelming for people. A lot of work, producing content and focusing on SEO. That's enough to keep us all up and working all hours of the day as it is. You did a really great job when you were creating courses and tutorials by leveraging other experts in the community to do all the legwork. Talk about that approach and how that, might have contributed some to your scale.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that didn't happen at first. So in the beginning, it was just the Cole show. And then it organically happened. And I guess I just want to first touch on the idea of business owners being overwhelmed. I think one thing that I do well, and especially with my clients that I work with now, it's like you have to be able to just do things incrementally. And we should always be taking a step back and thinking like, is what I'm working on right now a needle mover in the business? Because there's a lot of us all at different times, including myself, that will spin our wheels and we're doing work, but it's not meaningful work that has a true impact to the business. So this is what I'm going to be sharing. It's all a combination of, time management / diligent focus, diagnostics of knowing what task will have the biggest contribution to the business, and then who should be the one to do it. So as the brand was growing, it was very easy to start picking out people who had real talent. Mm-hmm. The cool thing is I literally taught them. So they already love the brand anyways. They've been with me for a while. So the next logical step is, hey, do you want to go and write some content and help other photographers? And I'll pay you. Of course, we want experts that are from within our own community, right? Instead of just outsourcing all of the writing. So then they're like, heck yeah. Well, then you just keep shrinking it down. Some of them stick around for a long time. They're like, I'm loving this. What else can I do? And some of them, before they had to ask, I offered them. They didn't know anything like that. But at that point, if I already had a brand, I already had an audience, what I needed was more products. And I didn't want to be the one to only be the one to make the products. And also, I wasn't the expert in all these other areas. I knew what I knew, which in the photography realm was weddings. And then, of course, I could teach basics of photography. I could teach editing, and I could teach business. Well, nobody cares about business ever. And editing, editing, I already did. So I had all these gaps in the business that I needed specific experts on. So it became very easy if I knew that. We'll take Betsy, for example. She was the first person who I sort of did this with. I'm like, and she was a great family portrait photographer. Hey, Betsy, you want to go and make some family portrait products that we can sell? And the arrangement was quite simple. And everyone asked me, well, how do you handle the money and all that? Well, if you don't have a big brand, then I would just pay them a flat fee and be done with it. Anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, depending on the scope of the thing. And boom, done. I'm going to pay you. You're going to do this. Then it's mine. Capiche? Cool. In my case, since I already had a big enough brand and audience, it was very simple. And sometimes I even gave them the option. I'll pay you flat, or you can take a 50% of the profits in the first 30 days. And that's it. So most people opted for that. And for the most part, it was extremely lucrative for them. And it dramatically let me scale our content catalog and the business. And the cool thing was everyone knows me as sort of the membership guy, but every single thing that went into the membership, I first sold on its own. Mm-hmm. Forever. People thought once you went to the membership, then they just get everything. Well, no, I'm going to sell it first, because there's a lot of people on my list that aren't in the membership. And some people who are in the membership, they aren't planning on sticking around forever. So there were so many different ways to monetize it.
Well, and part of the reason the membership idea was even able to be possible for you is because you had such a large amount of content, of tutorials or courses that you'd already created at that point. Because otherwise, a membership that's based on getting access to a lot of valuable tutorials, it'd be a very time-consuming and potentially expensive process to put together if you hadn't already backfilled so much content at that point.
Yeah, but if you don't have a brand and if you don't have a community to pull and pick people from, a great strategy is just to go to like udemy.com or Skillshare, or I forget the other ones, but Udemy will give you plenty to pick from. And then because they got literally instructors on every topic. So let's say that you are looking for golf in experts, go to Udemy. Is it Udemy or Udemy? I don't know.
I don't know. I figured
Yeah.
you knew. I was just
Yeah.
going to go with it.
But it's spelled udemy.com. So Udemy is how it sort of looks. And then go type in golf or whatever your topic is, and you're going to see a gazillion courses. And most of them haven't probably made any money at all. But they created a course to sell, right? And everyone created it because they thought it was going to be easy. And then they realize it's not easy and they haven't made anything. So if you come around and contact them, and the cool thing is you can preview the course so you see if they're any good anyways. And then if they come around, if you wave $1,000 check in front of them, many of them are going to say, hell yeah, sign me up. So that's what I would do. And you can even do that same logic with YouTube channels. All the time, I'm looking at YouTube channels. There's people with millions of views, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And you just go to look at their like best performing videos and look at their description. And if they don't have any call to action, if they aren't sending them to a website, if they aren't, then you know they're only making money off of YouTube ads. So some of them to make money off apparel. They're like, hey, buy my shirts, or Patreon, support my channel. So you can bet your little butt that if you come around, and I mean, those guys are always going to be hungry for more money making.
You run the Rapid Scale group now, where you work with clients. I don't know everything you're doing with them, but I know you do a lot of paid ads now. Where do paid ads in today's market? Because it's changed dramatically since you started Closed Classroom and since you grew it on the back of paid ads. And today, what's working with paid ads? And then how does that apply to a site owner, specifically the type of site owners we've been talking about today?
Well, I think the right ad channel, well, let me say it differently. I believe that in the quote old days, and by old days, I would sort of say anywhere from 3 to 5 years ago. In the last year and a half, it's gotten harder with Facebook. But
right.
In the older days, and the older you go, the easier it was. I'm just going to straight up say it, right? In the old days, you could just about, if you had any experience at all with like, if you had any chops at all with marketing and sales, and if you had a good offer, whatever it is, and by offer, I mean the thing that you're selling, if it was good, it can't suck, and your marketing can't suck either. You still have to know what you're doing. But yeah, if your product was good enough, there was enough margin a lot of the times because the ad cost was kind of cheap enough that you can still like grow quite well. And of course, people even back then, they weren't good at marketing and they didn't have good offers, so they still couldn't make ads work. Well, now it's just that much harder.
We say the same about SEO, by the way.
What was that?
We say the same thing about SEO. It's so much easier.
Everything's harder. No,
everything's harder.
That's the thing. Everything is harder. Yeah. And that's why I said now it takes a much more omni-channel approach. Yes, you got to do SEO. Yes, you should be also doing paid ads, but only the right kinds of paid ads, the right channel. So it really takes an expert. And that's where Rapid Scale Group and myself, it's like, you have to be able to, if you aren't from the paid ads world, if you aren't from the like business growing world, it's overwhelming and you don't know what you don't know. And that's why I'm not an SEO expert and I outsource that to experts. But what I am good at is helping people monetize their traffic, pick the right ad medium, ad channels, and put their best foot forward on those ads so that, and monitor them appropriately so that we aren't just burning money like so many people have. But, just to make sure I'm not leaving any hot tips here for everyone. I mean, I think Facebook has gotten more expensive and less smart in terms of their targeting options, combined with conversions and attention has been harder to get and conversions go down because there's more entrants in the market. So if you're selling a really cool e-commerce kind of thing that people are able to just sort of cruise on their phone and aimlessly scroll looking at memes, and then they're like, ooh, I want that, then great. Facebook ads will probably still crush it for you if you have the back end, you know, and all the different offers and monetization strategies to support it. But if you don't, or if you're selling like information only or a course, let's say for $100 or $200, no. I mean, people are on Facebook to have fun, to hang out, like to be entertained, not to be like make a hardcore purchase decision. So in that like crude example, which is not very crude at all, it seems with software, like these kinds of offers require very high intent of the traffic, so everyone here who focuses, even if it's on organic traffic, it's like, what's the intent of that traffic?
Yep.
Somebody who's searching best blank, that has buyer intent, whereas somebody who might be searching how has educational intent. So right now, the difference between today and the old days is you have to really be intentional. You have to be strategic and map and match up. Here's the right offer. Here's the right product for the right traffic. And what that really means is for anyone who just has content sites and they're monetized only through affiliates, but wants to do something more to expand it, that means you're probably going to need multiple products to sort of fit into these different kinds of the different categories of traffic that you have. But Google Ads is great. If there's any search demand already, then that's why I say you got to do Google. And YouTube, I find it's harder to produce because it requires scripting a video and all that. But there's really cool targeting options available that I'm really geeking out on right now. You can build audiences based off of how people are searching for particular things on Google. You can build audiences based on apps that they're using in the App Store, and the list goes on. So
wow.
I'm really enjoying really doing well with Google Ads and YouTube for our clients right now.
If somebody wanted to, I guess the question is, do you ever see any ROI or any case to be made for driving paid ads just to build an email list, without a purchase at the end of it? Is that something that nowadays can work without a massive budget, a budget that maybe an individual site owner could come forward with? And if so, what kind of budget or what kind of approach would someone take? Or is it even realistic?
I think it depends on the niche. But I think for the most part, everyone in this day and age, unless you really just wanted, there's a couple of use cases where that would make sense for me. I have done that. And I would do that if you are starting something from if you're starting a brand new and you want to test demand before going out and investing all this, like let's take a SaaS, building a software as a service. That's a big investment, but let's start simpler and build just literally a quick PDF guide or even a video training that is still good for lead generation to see if people are interested in that topic, right? So you can solve a lot of the things that maybe the software would solve, but in a non-software way, and then run ads on Facebook or Google or YouTube, and then really get a pulse on from the conversion metrics to say, dude, nobody's signing up for this free training. And if they aren't going to buy this free training, or if they aren't going to sign up for the free, then they really aren't going to give me the $100 a month like I thought. But that I would view these things as tests that will take an investment. I would not, with my own money. One of the things we did well and why we ran such a highly profitable business was we tried to always never lose, and it's sort of like managing your stock portfolio. It's like you manage the losers and let the winners run. So I would always control the downside risk. And I would urge everyone else to do the same. And what I'm trying to say is like, I would never allow anyone or myself say like, we got to go build an email list because it worked great 10 years ago. And I'm going to go spend $10,000 and see how many leads I get. And then I'm going to monetize them later on when I finally build my product. Like just kiss it goodbye, because the leads after 30 or 60 days are pretty much next to worthless in my opinion anyways.
I remember what you were just talking about reminds me of a story, the famous Tim Ferriss story, when he was looking for what to name his now famous book, The 4 Hour Work Week.
Uh-huh.
And he took like 10 titles and put it on, ran Google ads to it to see which one got the most clicks and the most
There you go.
engagement.
Oh,
And that's how he came up with the title, The 4 Hour Work Week.
Data is everything. It's everything. I think where a lot of people struggle right now is they inherently lack the expertise, and they are in a position they can't really hire the expertise, or they just don't even understand the extent that the strategy is needed on the monetization, right? And once again, this goes out the window for anyone who is happy to just collect their affiliate and their ad revenue.
Right.
But if you're doing that, you're absolutely leaving a lot of money on the table, 100%. If you already got the traffic, let's just monetize them better.
Okay, so I have the opportunity of hosting this podcast, so I get to interview people, and I think there's something I clearly notice, and if you're a regular listener, you'll notice this too, and that is this theme of the people that we bring on that have these success stories of when they see success happening, they dive in headlong. They double, they triple, they quadruple down. We're constantly interviewing people who have a really successful exit on a website or a very profitable website, and you ask them why, and they say, I saw this was working and I just went for it. I scaled it massively. And for you saw your paid ads working really well. And so you went for it as well. You scaled up to the point where your scale happened so rapidly and so fast. I imagine that there's a little bit, I ask people this a lot, but I want to get your opinion on it. I imagine there's a little bit of trepidation at just like going all in, like you were doing, right, to scale the business. What, was there any, and if there was, can you kind of talk through some of the strategies to kind of get over that and logically, make that decision?
Well, you just said a word, logically. And I think that's always been the key for me, right? I've mentioned data to drive decisions. I've mentioned, or you just mentioned, like going all in on what's working. What I hadn't had a chance to say it, I'm glad this is coming up, is, but we did talk earlier about 80-20 rule and like focus what's going to be the biggest impact to the business and really put your energy there. So for us, that was Facebook ads. But the cool thing was in the heyday, I was spending $5,000 a day on ads and we made a lot more than that off of them. So, but I didn't go from $50 a day when I started to 5,000, right? Like it truly wasn't even an exponential, really increase. It was like fairly gradual. So I guess the short answer here is I didn't have any sort of concerns because I was continually monitoring the data to make sure that I wasn't losing money. Like rule number one of investing is don't lose money. So yeah, there's times when like we didn't get as much of an ROI or we had a campaign flop, but those were always done and managed in such a way that that downside was so limited, and we would cut the loss fast. So, I mean, the actual path for us started with, I learned ads with $25 to $50 a day budgets. And then I was like, oh, this is working. Let's do 100 a day. Oh, it's working. 250 a day, then 500, and then 1,000. And it wasn't until I got really to that 1,000 to 2,000 a day mark where it's like, all right, I guess I should just keep going. And then then from like 3,000 to 5,000 a day, it's like, okay, I better be really, really, really good with monitoring the data and being able to run analysis and spreadsheets. And luckily for me, that's sort of one of my superpowers is financial analysis.
That's your background.
Yeah, that's my background. And it's sort of cool how corporate America actually, what I learned there really gave me I guess a step ahead of everyone. So, but I guess I have to make sure that I acknowledge that because of that, we did not focus on SEO when we should have, because we didn't need to until we needed to. And then it was kind of too late to have it be a real needle mover. But, you can imagine the amount of traffic that we were getting from thousands a day in spend. There was literally there wasn't even enough search volume to even come close to that level of traffic and conversion and ultimately sales. But we didn't focus on YouTube. We didn't focus on social media. We didn't focus on anything other than Facebook ads, and then improving the profitability of the funnels so that we can continue to scale faster, and serving our members and improving retention. That was it.
It's a good reminder for everyone. I mean, the great thing about paid traffic is that it's instantaneous feedback.
Yes.
The terrible thing about SEO traffic is that it's the exact opposite of instantaneous feedback. But there's still data points. There's still data you can use to inform your decision. There's still history that you have on your side that says, generally speaking, when I do A, B will happen. And you still use data, and then you go, quote unquote, all in. But I think what you really outlined is, well, it was never really all in. It was always a gradual more in.
Yeah.
These are very technical terms I'm using here, I realize, but
well, no, but it's also I think what I'm hearing from you is like, it's always, every business has to be a constant revision, like a review and revision, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, you have to review, is what was working still working? Do we now have new traffic that I need to pay attention to? Like, just because it was converting really well to however you're monetizing it, now it's not. Why? Like, one of the number one things that everyone ought to do is always just ask yourself, why? Mm-hmm. This is happening. Why? Like, just get really, really good at understanding what is driving the result you're getting so that you can then improve it.
So before we wrap up here, is there anything, covered a lot, and you really shared a lot of really great tips, but is there anything that we kind of left off the table that you think people will get value out of hearing, or anything I forgot to ask you or didn't get to?
Well, I think the important thing that I want everyone to know is to not psych yourself out and allow yourself to get too overwhelmed that you don't start. So whether you have a content site or portfolio of sites, and you've thought about having your own e-commerce or further monetization things, but you just haven't, you just have to start, period. So don't be afraid of taking that next step. And if you're listening and you haven't really started your site yet, for whatever reason, get started. When I look back at everything we did, and even, how we ended up getting the business acquired, it's interesting to always just be like, wow, that one phone call then led to that, mm-hmm. or that one person that I met, or that one email then led to that. It's just, there's so many different times that I could have allowed my comfort and complacency to not move the needle forward. But that, and what I've now seen from even consulting and helping other website owners and businesses grow, there's no shortage, or I should say, there's no substitute for being laser focused and determined, and having that just sort of constant, mechanical, outlook on the business. Mm-hmm. Just always be turning a wrench or tweaking a bolt, and figuring out, if I do this, because that's really how I grew it so fast, was asking myself every weekday question, hey, if I just do this differently, maybe my conversion will go from 2% to 2.5% or 3%. Or if I change this upsell here, then that means my ROI will be here. So then I can invest more. And so, the only difference is, I guess the other side of that is, yes, get started, but also don't let yourself get discouraged when things are hard, because it's hard. It's always been hard, and it's harder now. So if there's one thing I probably should have done different, I would have got involved and invested in my own network, whether that's masterminds or even coaches or mentors. Invest in experts, people who've already done it, rather than try and figure it all out yourself, because there's just too many things to really have to be good at to really have a monster impact. And that doesn't mean you can't do it. That just means you have to be strategic and intentional with your time and money.
Yeah. So you're with Rapid Scale Group. Can you tell us a little bit? It's rapidscalegroup.com. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, who you guys work with, and how you guys help businesses grow.
Yeah, well, the beauty is just me. So despite the name, it's just me. And I say that because I'm fortunate now that, I had sold my company, and now I get to I'm not trying to rapidly scale, despite the name, an agency, if you will. But essentially, how I help people is, a lot of companies, when they're growing, they don't have the budgets for very highly experienced team members, right? So even if you have a company and you're making $100,000, $200,000 a year, and you have aspirations to go to seven figures, well, you probably don't have the budget to bring on a full-time, decades worth of experience marketing and sales guy, which would cost you 200 grand, for anyone good. So then people are left with hiring very junior people. And what I found was that can be very problematic. And the reason why is when you have people, like if you aren't the expert on marketing and sales and growth, and then you bring in somebody who's junior, you're trusting your money with somebody who's brand new and green, because that's all you can kind of afford. But then now it's very easy for things to magically just not work. But you don't really have the skill set to really manage them or even know when things aren't working. So Rapid Scale Group, right now, I work with people in their business to help them grow. That's the simplest way of putting it. And I do it on a part-time basis. So for the companies that don't have the budget for a full-time in-house hire, they get to have me with all of the experience that I have go right into their business in many times, similar to what they would pay a full-time junior level person. So,
Right.
Yeah. And it's everything. Every business is different. So some people I'm running just marketing campaigns and ad campaigns, and others I'm just helping on the strategic front. But at this point, it's fun. It's fun for me there's a lot of people with some really great talent and have built a really great asset that just need a little helping hand and some guidance.
Mm-hmm. You probably see some pretty cool businesses.
It's really fun. It's really fun. And I've learned a ton just by not only being in my photography bubble, but running marketing growth for different niches, different industries, and even different business types.
Well, people can catch up with you at rapidscalegroup.com, and we'll get that URL in the show notes here. Cole, thanks for coming on. I mean, like I said, at the outset, you and I will get coffee or lunch once in a while and just talk shop. And it's kind of fun to do it in front of a group this time.
That's kind of what we just did.
Yeah, it's basically, I didn't have to buy you lunch this time either.
I think you might owe me this time, but either way, it's my pleasure. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
Thanks for coming by, and I really appreciate you sharing so much with everyone. I'm sure there'll be a lot that everybody gets out of it. So until we talk again, thanks again.
Talk soon.
Once again, today's show was sponsored by Ahrefs, an all-in-one SEO tool set. Hey, so if you're sick of your competitors outranking you in search results, and you wish that there was an easier way to get more traffic from Google, one option is to go out and hire an agency. They're going to help you out, but probably on an ongoing monthly retainer that's going to be costly. Another option is to leverage a tool that tells you exactly what needs to be done. That tool is Ahrefs Webmaster Tools, and it's completely free. It's not one of those 14-day trial offers. It's just completely free. It's a super powerful tool. It's going to do a full website audit for you. And it keeps working for you after that. So it's not like the access ends there. It's going to scan your site. It'll prioritize precisely what you need to do and what you need to fix to improve your results in search. Imagine how valuable you will that knowledge will become as you discover what changes you need to make to increase your traffic on your website. So it's time to start getting Google to work for you and for your business. You can visit ahrefs.com/webmaster-tools to get this free tool. Again, we've included it in the show notes, but once again, it's ahrefs.com/webmaster-tools. Thanks again to Ahrefs for sponsoring today's podcast episode. Have you been frustrated with your Google traffic lately? Are you tired of tools that make you search through millions of keywords and require a math degree to figure out? There's an SEO tool called RankIQ that can help. They're ranked number 1 on G2 for both ease of use and customer satisfaction. RankIQ gives you a list of the lowest competition, high traffic keywords in your niche, and they are all clear winners. When you choose one of their handpicked keywords, their AI takes over and gives you a simple report telling you what Google wants you to cover in your blog post. Whether you have a new site or have been around for a while, RankIQ will take your Google traffic to a whole new level. Go to rankiq.com/niche pursuits to lock yourself in at 50% off their monthly rate. I'll put this special link in the episode's description.